Let's see. Okay. Let's sit you over here. All
Hi.
right, family. I think we're live. Hold on. Peace and blessings, family. We are live. How y'all doing today? First of all, we want to send some prayers out to our Ia mama because they had a. I think she said they had a twister, no, tornado in Ohio yesterday.
Really?
So we got, yeah, she sent it to us on Instant Messenger to the group. So we got to keep her in our prayers, y'all,
I
Yes.
didn't,
and everybody there. Yeah, she said that they had a tornado in Akron last night, which is where she is, Ohio.
Mm.
We got to keep E and them in our prayers. And, she, I guess the basement flooded or something like that. So
Oh
we
man.
need to, you know,
oh,
Mother Nature doing what she do.
Hmm.
So it's all is well. So give thanks to the ancestors and the whole nine. So I'm just grateful. I'm very, very grateful. Um, so how are you? How y'all doing today?
I'm fine. Do we have to be clicked in for you to hear us, or
Oh, I can hear y'all fine. Y'all hear, it sounds fine to me. I guess the audience will let us know.
okay? I'm fine. I went grocery shopping. That was an ordeal, but I'm back now, so I'm okay.
All right. What about you, sis?
all is well. All is well. I'm good. Just getting ready for this move. Packing a little bit every day.
Hey, that's the
Mhm.
way to go. So, Ian, could you bless us with a prayer before we get started?
Yes, yes. Um, I call on our ancestors
I say,
to banish the negativity that threatens to disrupt our tranquility, and to break the hold and the power it has over us so that we are free to move with ease. Break the hold and the power that this virus, be it man made or otherwise, well, all things come from God, but be it man made, um, in a test tube, please set us free from it so that we can move with ease. Provide us with the knowledge to make wise decisions at this time, but especially wise decisions when we come out of this so that we don't slip back into uh, our negative ways, and shine a light on the path in which we must take our next steps towards healing and elevation. As we go through this time, help us to heal so that our vibrations will be raised and that we will not go back to the dark place from which we came. Let the light shine upon us. Ashe, Ashe, Asheo.
Yeah. Thank you for that, Ian. So, today I would like for us, if we could, to talk about some of the Orishas that we don't always get a chance to talk about. And I was trying to find some really beautiful images today as a backdrop. We do have a really pretty idioms you can't really see. You see like kind of like the waterfalls. But I looked up some stuff for Nana Baroku and for Mami Wata. And Nana Baroku, a lot of beautiful pictures, artwork came up for her. And a lot of purple. It's absolutely beautiful. And then when I looked up for Mama Wata, it gave me a woman with like a snake on her head and
Mhm.
like a lot of water. Like I mean, she was like in the water or over the water or something like that. So anyway, I really want us to kind of talk a little bit about. We can talk about a lot of different issues, but particularly those two. So when you think of Nana Baroku, what do you all know about Nana Baroku?
Nana Baroku, for me, I have a special relationship with her. Um, she is the grandmother of all. She's the grandmother of all Orisha. She's the ancient mother, and I guess that's why I have this I gravitate towards her, because I am steeped in the ancients, in the ancient ones, the ancient spirits, as we go back thousands and thousands. I mean, we're over 600,000 years old. And so, and I'm talking about us, because we are the reincarnation of ourselves over and over and over again. So she's the grandmother. Um, she's the ancient mother of the universe, and she embodies the spirit of the earth and the moon. It was interesting that last night was full moon, because we often think of Yemaya and witches. The moon is connected and special for Yemaya, but it is also very a sign of Nana Buaraku. So she's known for her extraordinary healing powers. Uh, During this time, we can go to her and ask her for our healing, just not for our bodies, but for our minds, our emotions, and our spirits. Um, but she, and with most of our deities, that we connect with feminine energy, which is also the energy of water, usually. Um, she does not like being crossed, just like your grandmother would be with you. That's how you must think of her. She is very ancient, and she does not like being crossed. Um, you want to stay on the good side of her. Um, she's a feminine energy. She watches over all women, whether you are part of the tradition or not. She watches over you. And just like everyone has their Ori, you know, um, she's a protector of everything feminine and female. Um, and she takes her role of grandmother very seriously. Um, and I have notes here, by the way. I don't have all this in my head all the time, because I have held sometimes. The day when we went shopping, my granddaughter went with me, and she was taking the car back, so I was sitting in the car. I was sitting on the side with the steering wheel, and I wasn't driving. She was driving, so I have to have these little notes here so to keep on flow. Um, she has very little she has very little patience for men, and surrounds herself with her priestesses. She's a smart woman. Um, Women find comfort in her knowledge and her strength, and flock to her for guidance and spiritual healing. She's a really, a lot of people, when they first come to know her, have somewhat of a fear, or maybe it's just a healthy respect for her, like you would for your grandma. Um, but she's really very loving and very kind, and she's extraordinarily powerful. So that's just a few things. Yes, purple. You're going to see purple all over the place, because her colors are pink, purple, and black. And yeah, she's a pistol. Don't mess with her. But when you need something, call on her, and she'll be right there. She's your grandmama. Hmm. Anything else? Or did that work for you?
That's great. I had when I looked her up, I see Nana Baroku, also known as Nana Baroku. And they got Nana Balakwa, is a female supreme being in West African traditional religion of Fon, people of Benin, Dahomey, and Ewe people of Togo. Now, I know I have Ewe in my ancestry, that I do know. Those are the people that are from Togo. And you shared a lot of great information about her being ancient, which is great. How did you become acquainted with her? How did you discover her, or she discovered you?
Nana has always been with me. I think this discovery of her came through, with most of my discoveries, came through with my grandmother. Um, Although that was not the name that she called her. Well, she called her Nana. There was no Baroku part, and she has several different names. And but you know how your grandmother would always tell you, you better behave because Nana's going to be watching you. And she would be speaking of this particular energy, this particular feminine energy. And then as time went on, as I said earlier, she is very ancient. And as I had readings and things like that, she kept coming forward. That the work that I was doing had to span into our ancient history, our ancient lineages. So she's always been there. And you mentioned Togo and Dahomey and Benin. And in my early morning meditation, I just wanted to share with you that we have to really remember that Africa, the peoples of Africa, traveled the length and the breadth of Africa, and they weren't, that they may have had the people that they came from, but they didn't have these man-made demarcations of this is Togo and this is Benin, and this is the people in that particular area were venerating. Sometimes they were venerating the same deities, the same energies. And so with the African spiritual systems, they flow throughout the length and breadth of Mother Africa. They weren't stopped at a certain border. There weren't those kinds of borders. The other thing that came to me, and I know I'm going a little bit off, but the other thing that came to me, and this does have to do with Nana Baruku, is that we have to remember that we think like Western people. We think like people in 2020, and our traditions come from people who were living probably in 2000, 3000, 4000 BCE, and even before that. And so their thought processes, because of where they lived and how they lived, were entirely different from ours. They didn't have the issues that we have. That's not to say that they were perfect, but their life and the way they thought about the world and nature and themselves and their families, it was entirely different than the way we do. And so this is that Sankofa time for us to go back and pull those memories, because it's all within us. It's all genetic memory. Pull those memories up and get back on track. But that's Nana Baruku speaking. All right.
So with that being said, how do you connect to her? Like, if you are a devotee, what would a Nana Boroku devotee be known for doing, or how would you communicate with her?
Okay. In my experience, I don't know of anyone who is initiated to Nana Baruku. Now, and for the folks who are out there, maybe they can share that they have, that initiation. I personally do not. I just have a relationship with her. And my relationship is one of, I talk to the Orisha. I talk to her. I tell her she's my grandmother. There you go. That's the bottom line. When I'm talking to my grandmother, I'm talking to Nana Baruku. They're one and the same for me, pretty much. It's just that she came to me in my lifetime as my grandmother. So, and of course, there are certain things that she likes. She likes Crown Royal. And so when I can, the purple thing, cover that they have over it, the velvet. Yeah. Well, she likes that. That makes her happy. Um, what else? She likes avocados. I give her the things that I know that she likes, and I listen to her. I listen to what she requires and what she asks of me. But yeah, um, so that's it.
So Ia, what is the thing with her with the men?
She don't like them. That doesn't mean that she doesn't. How do I put this? It's not that she doesn't like them. It's that she keeps uh, a certain distance, and she likes them to be kept in their place. We all have a place. And sometimes, many times, and I'm not just talking about men in today's world, um, even in many, many years gone by, men have to be um, mm, kept um, or reminded, not kept, because we aren't going to keep nobody, but reminded of the feminine powers and how strong they are and how attached to our very living they are, because this is the way that creation comes into being, is through the feminine energy, and it must be respected and adored. And sometimes men forget that, and she makes sure that they have a healthy remembrance of it, or else
Okay.
she
Uh,
don't, she does, she, I say that, I said the same thing about Oshun because it's true. She is Oshun, she's supposed to be Oshun's mother, and she's also supposed to be Ogun's mother. And that is very interesting, but she don't like him too much because he disrespected her, and she doesn't care for that.
what,
Um,
what's that story though? Do you know the story of how that happened?
uh, I gotta pull it back out of here,
Okay.
uh, out of the memory bank. That's why I write everything down. Um, I just know that she's supposed to be his mother in one story, because there's so many Patakis, and some of them call different people different deities have different husbands and different mothers and different. So she is his mother, but he did something to her. He disrespected her in some way, and she banished him. She got rid of him, and that's part of her not being so fond of men.
Sister LaDonna's asking a question. She said, "Is Ia saying Mami Wata and Nana are the same?" In my experience,
No.
my mom, she's saying no. Okay,
No.
so as a snake and a mermaid. That's what I left out. That Mama Wata looked like a mermaid. Sorry, that's what I can remember.
No, these are completely different energies. That I haven't said a word about Mama Wata, not one. I'm talking just about Nana.
So before we get there, if I multiply, because when she's talking, I just mute us both so we have less, whatever that is. The Iyamis. What are the Iyamis? Taking that for I mute myself.
The Yamis are the mothers. They are a primordial energy. They are extraordinarily and extremely powerful. They are the mothers of all, the mothers of the earth, the mothers of the universe. They are sometimes seen as birds. In some temples or ilays or ways of speaking, some people call them witches. And for me, I have no problem with the word witch because I don't Europeanize it. I use the word as a wise woman. But the Iyami are, and one of the names that they use are Aje, AJE. They are the sisterhood. They are the sisterhood. And their society is secret. I was trying to think of another word, but for want of another word, that's the truth of the matter. All women to some degree are Iyami, but then there are those who have been called to that tradition, to that society, and you are really going to find them talking about it as I close my mouth.
No. You know what I was going to say? So as you ask those questions, I looked it up. Wikipedia, y'all. It says Yami Aje, just like you said, AJE, is a Yoruba term of respect and adornment used to describe a woman of African ancestry who was considered to be, considered to be an Aje, a woman who wields creative, biological, spiritual, and cosmic power. That's the definition they had. You know how they come with definition.
Yeah. The Ayami are powerful. They are very, very powerful, and you have a healthy respect for them. It's the power, though, that lives within each one of us who have that feminine energy.
Right on. If I multiply, do you want to add anything onto that, or have you had any experiences with the Iyami, Jay?
Yeah, I've had some experiences. It's not much you could say about it, but what I will say is that it is I think it's an underappreciated power by women. You know what I mean? It's the I found that it links. I'm tearing up. I found that it also links with our gut feelings. So you know how you just know something, you can actually feel it in your body, in your gut. That that's a part of that power. That's not even the whole of it, but that is I found that to be a part of that power. That it's almost like a language of it in and of itself. If when if you can activate it, you know what I mean? Because we talk about the Ori Inu being fed also through the belly, but for women, it's very it's a it's a very underutilized, untapped power. And I don't think that I think it varies in degrees or how close you are in the lineage. I think, but it's that it's the same what we've been talking about with Nana Baruku, with the Iami, and they're different flavors, I think, of the same kind of power that we're talking about. But what stands out to me at this time is that it's an opportunity for women to tap into something divine that exists within themselves. So I think that's where it becomes powerful, even in the contemplation of these things. Like, we can begin to access different parts of ourselves, and activate and really trust, because that's, for me personally, that's been a big part of what I had to learn spiritually, was to trust myself. And I can say that the Yami have supported me in learning that, you know, that they've come to my aid in that way. But they don't, I don't know if you could say they really volunteer to help people. They do some, if you're, yeah, they can, but they speak in a lot of Odu. So when you get divination, they can, you often get feedback from them, and it's a good thing to be, if you have a relationship with the Iami, to be proactive. Don't wait till they ask for something. Kind of be, making that acknowledgement. And I know, as a part of my we didn't talk about morning prayers, but as a part of my morning prayers, like, that's a mandatory for me, is I have to acknowledge them, because they're very present. They've come to my aid a lot in terms of just in general woman stuff. I have a lot of physical woman issues, but then also just in general, as moving in the earth as a woman. I think a lot of us will find we have certain challenges just moving in the earth as women, and the Iami do support us in those things.
Okay, so question for both of y'all. So you know how, like, when you think of Oshun, there's a certain ideal of her, when Yemaya, like mothering and all, there's all these ideas. When women do have challenges like fertility, like not being able to have children, or things going on with their reproductive parts, what Orisha is that associated?
Either one. Okay.
All of them.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. All of them. Oshun, Yemaya, certainly Nana, Yewa, Oba. I mean, I was thinking even Oya. I wish Ia was here, and I say prayers for her. But that it's a sisterhood. We're in sisterhood with the deities,
Yeah.
and they understand the importance of the feminine or the female and the feminine energy. As I said, nothing comes on this earth. Nothing works properly on this earth, and even in the heavens, without that feminine energy. We are, to a large degree, the creator. We bring forth life, whether it be the animals or whatever. We bring forth life into this existence. Um, and so all of those deities, for the most part, will help you through fertility issues. As I said, Nana is she's a healer. She will heal you, and she spiritually and physically and mentally and emotionally. And I think you get that from them all. I really do. I don't think that I would choose one over the other. But of course, if you're divining and Oshun comes through that this is her work to do, then that's who you would be working with, and so forth. But uh, the female energy is the female energy. That's why our sister circles are so important.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
but I also to piggyback on what Ia said, um, it's when we look at one problem and we can't we can't think of which Orisha we want to go to first, or and we can look at we get to look at all these entities as a sisterhood, because even though they all represent women in some way, we're very multifaceted. So it's different. There's different there's nuances of differences, and you can't always put your just because it looks like the same problem doesn't mean that it comes from the same cause. So you can have things show up in your body because of something that you're thinking that's wrong, but you're married to that idea. You know what I mean? Like you're married to something that's not true in your mind. You can have it because you have a certain amount of emotional upheaval or trauma. You can have things show up in your body because spiritually you are not aligned, or your your body is working on your behalf to push you towards something. Do you understand what I mean? And if you're not paying attention, then you get a stronger message than the one you had previously. And one of the things that I wanted to say about the Iami that I just remembered is that the way it's so awesome, the different ways that we are supported by spirit. So if we think about um, the Iami coming to Earth um, as the flip side of the coin for Orumala in a sense. Like, so Orumala gives us the dictates and the verbal really instruction. You can get specific instruction that has to do with your specific destiny for your specific time in your life anytime you go and get divination, right? The Iami work in a different way to support you in achieving your destiny. In other words, as soon as you begin to color outside of the lines, they're right there. And so what we think of is like, if we can discard the idea of God and the devil, right? And understand things a little more holistically, which in the tradition, that's the way it's set up. Everything is holistic. Odumare encompasses all things that we would consider positive and all things that we would consider negative. And those are not really our judgments to make. And also, it varies from time to time whether something is positive. Okay. Oh no, I'm backstage. Okay. I can't hear you, sis.
Sorry, I don't know what happened, but you back.
Okay. So I always thought of the EIME as a support to us, a different kind of support to us achieving our destiny. Like, they came to kind of wrangle us in a way to keep us on track. So if you think about what happens in your life as indications, right? Instead of get rid of the idea of spirits punishing you, right? If everything that happens to you is actually happening on your behalf, then when something negative happens, it's an indication for you to pay closer attention. It's an indication for you to change course. It's an indication that something is up. And so if you need to go get divination, if you need to seek the counsel of an elder, whatever it is you need to do, then the EIME are there to kind of push you towards that corrective action. And sometimes it's not pleasant. You know what I mean? The experience is not going to be pleasant, because especially if you've gotten a little whisper from your ancestors, you know, like, this is not good for you, but you keep on going, right? Then you get a little bit of something else. Then you get a little bit of something else. Then by the time it gets to the EIME, it could be like completely out of control. It's a situation where they're not always down for you to appease them. It's very, once it goes to the left, it's very difficult to bring it back sometimes. And I don't know a lot of priests that work closely with the EIME. The ones who do wield great power, but also wisdom, because it's a great responsibility. Like, it's worthy of your trepidation. Like, you don't need to just be walking off in there feeling some kind of way. A lot of the Orishas are a lot softer on us, but by the time you're dealing with that energy, then you know, you really need to be on your toes and aware of what's going on.
Okay, so with that being said, and the reason why I bring up before I get to this question with the EIMEs, is that a society? Are they like Orishas? Are there devotees to EIME? How does that work?
That's really one of those things that that are that you have to be called to get that information, if you know what I mean. I don't want to say secret. I will say that you have to. They are a society, yes. They have their own rituals and things, but it's not something that is discussed unless you're with someone else who is has been chosen for that, or who walks that path. Let me put it that way. If you can come across someone who walks the path of the EIME and has all of that information, the two of you may, and even then, it's a very sacred group, society, and it's kept that way by our being very clear that it must remain within the circle. Right. That's the best way I can put it. Ia, do you have anything to add to that? And by the way, thank you so much for your explanations on those things, because that was really great. Do you have anything to add to that? That's the best way I know how to say it.
I think you said it the best way. It's just a I know that we talked about kind of demystifying things, like that's part of the reason why we're having these conversations. But I want to also say that in the effort not to give a 5-year-old an AK-47, there's certain things that we just don't share because the volatility of the energy that we're dealing with, everybody just can't just walk off in there with their mind not right. You know what I mean? And so giving people information about things that they can't really navigate doesn't help them. Because if you get to playing with the EIME and I don't know what to tell you. You know what I mean? And people feel, we live in a country where you're made to feel like you can do anything. You know what I mean? Just right where you are. You don't need any other information. If you feel like you're strong enough to do it, then go ahead and do it. That's not really how the tradition works. And don't get me wrong, there are some things that are held close to the vest that could be shared. But I don't really think once you get past a certain point with the like it's not something that people should be playing with. So, I would caution beyond I give praise to the beautiful mothers. I would caution people moving beyond that point and without proper guidance, I will say, or without even being called to that. It's not something that you should just be giving your energy to without you really having an understanding of what it entails. It's a beautiful acknowledgement to make, though, right? The beautiful mothers. They are, like Ia said, primordial. They came to Earth with Orunmila, as the story goes.
Right on. Right on.
Very, very powerful. Very, very powerful. But also, there are sparks of that energy in all female Orisha worship. You know what I mean? You don't have to go that deep unless you're called to go that deep. I think even approaching the ancient deities like Nana Baruku is, that's it's a different flavor of that same power. Like you don't really want to play. It's I want to ask Ia Colette a question about the staff of Nana Baruku. I've heard the stories about it coming from a stick in the placenta, but what do you know? I don't even know what it's called.
I don't know that story, but I'm going to go find out. Yeah. I don't know that story. Now that's on my list of things. This is a wonderful forum because I don't care if you're an elder or if you just come into the tradition or who you are. There's so much to learn. And you never know where that learning is going to come from. That's why you always have to remain humble and realize that, oh, I realize for me that I only know a very small part of the tradition. And there's so much more to learn. I could sit down and talk for 24 hours and still not be full to the point where I say, oh, I got it. Because I don't think I'll ever have it all until I transition back to where I came from. I didn't know the story about the staff, but I'm going to go look it up.
Well, all I heard was this is what I was told, that when a someone in the lineage of Nana Baruku is born, there's a small stick in their placenta, and you buried in the ground when the baby is born, and then as the child grows, the staff grows, and then by the time they're ready for rites of passage, initiation, or whatever, then it's a full-grown staff. But I also noticed that different from other staffs in the tradition, this one goes up and around. So I don't know what it's called. Maybe somebody who's watching knows, and they can leave it in the comments. Or that even is how to look at them.
I was muted. That's a very interesting story. And when we get together at some point, I'll just share if we remember when we get together. Yeah, I'll share some stuff with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't forget.
Yeah, that's an interesting story about the staff. And I think the staff that has the round hook, now, it can be very similar to the staff that the Pope uses.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I mute us because sometimes when you're talking, it's a bunch of clicking. When I mute other two, you can hear the person clear. That's why I'm doing that. But I try to be right on that mute button. Okay, so Sister LaDonna said, one story of Nana Baruku can be found in The Flash of the Spirit by Robert Ferris Thompson. So she said you can find that in there. Flash of the Spirit. Thank you, LaDonna. LaDonna got a lot of reading too. So I love when she chimes with her information. I absolutely love it. Okay, Mama Walter, before I wrap this all in together, I'm going over some of the women. What do you all know about Mama Walter?
So I let you go ahead. You go ahead.
I don't know a lot about Mommy Wata. I just know that I was looking at the images for her, like that a lot of the people refer to her as a black mermaid. In the images, she's depicted as a mermaid with always big hair, long hair, and a snake around her neck. And a lot of people equate her with Yemaya, but I don't know that it's the same thing. Ia, what are your thoughts?
I don't equate her with Yemaya at all. I think they're separate energies, just like Olokun and Yemaya are both in the ocean. They're ocean deities, but their energy is very different. Just like the energy at the top of the ocean is very different from the energy at the bottom of the ocean. I would guess, never having been to the bottom of the ocean, but the energy I would assume is very different. But with Mami Wata, she has a whole society of her own, a whole tradition of her own. And it's mostly women, but then there are some men who have been initiated into Mami Wata. One of them being, oh God, what's his name? He's a doctor. He's American. He lives in Georgia. I can't think of his name. But anyway, he has been initiated to Mami Wata. He's about the only person that I know of on this side of the Atlantic that's a male that has been initiated. But she has her own. And the other thing about Mami Wata is, it's a little controversial, but Mami Wata is not one spirit. She's not one deity. She's, like we think of Ochun as Ochun. Mami Wata are the water spirits, the water gods that come forth from the ocean. and there are many spirits that come from forth from the ocean. Um, so you and there are people who have a particular devotion to water spirits, and there are certain rituals that are carried out if you wish to contact water spirits. So the term Mami Wata is pretty broad. It encompasses a lot. But yes, we do see that one representation of her with the snake, and the snake, of course, is transformation. It sheds its skin and it comes up anew. Um, uh, there's more to her, or to that energy. It's an energy, really. All of everything that we're talking, everything is energy, you know. Um, so what we're talking about is a specific female energy, and it's interesting, now that we're speaking about these things, that there's so many different feminine energies, and they all have their particular niche. Um, Yemaya is very different from Oshun, and from Oya, and from Nana, and from Mami Wata is a completely different energy. She comes forth, she comes up out of the water. There are those water rituals that you do. Um, yeah.
So, with that being said, yeah, I just want to read the definitions, as I always try to because that's how some
Mhm.
of us learn about it. It says, Mami Water or Mammy Water is a water spirit venerated in West Central and Southern Africa, and in the African diaspora in the Americas. Mami Water spirits are usually females, but sometimes are male. Then it says, widely commonly known for mirror in the hand. Mami Wata is able to embody ritual performances and worship ceremonies for Africans through this instrument. Her mirror represents a movement through the present and the future. Her devotees are able to create their own reality through its image of themselves and their own recreation of Mami Wata's world. In this world, one can embody her sacred powers, fulfilling their inventions of their own reality. And that's what they had down there as a definition for her. So being that we just talked, and what you just said here, being that we just talked about all of these powerful deities or energy of women, why is there such an effort to suppress women?
Boy, this is you go all the way back into a history lesson. This came about. Can you hear me? I couldn't hear you just now.
I was saying, but even in the world of African spirituality, we just talk about such powerful women energies, but it seems to be sometimes oppressed or compressed or controlled in a male energy. Like always, talented, you hear some of them they absolutely tried to bury.
Mm-hmm.
And people are just saying, I didn't know that was all I know was about Oshun and maybe Yemaya and really maybe Oya. You know what I mean? But now we just discussed at least 3 of them that we've never even really heard of before, like that.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very powerful.
Yes, and they a lot of them are primordial. The thing about it is we have to realize. Remember when we started, I said we have to shed our Western mind and regain our ancient mind, our African mind, because it wasn't always like this. And I know that I'm talking to the people who already know, but if you look at, there are certain pictures of the statues of women, big pregnant women, big hips, big thighs, big butt, big women. And those are very ancient drawings or sculptures of the female energy. And it wasn't always like this. In our reality, men have treated women, and women have treated women. I mean, it's part of our socialization. We have the goddess stepped back in time, in ancient time. The goddess stepped back, and when she stepped back, the male energy came forth, and with that male energy came the suppression of the female energy. But listen, doesn't that remind you of what has happened to us as a people? We are so powerful. The female energy is so powerful. There was a time when she was revered, and we as females, we're not interested in taking over the world because we are the world. There's nothing for us to take over. We are the world. The reason why we can't see the Odu, like the Babalaos have to go into the room to see the Odu, we don't have to do that because we are the Odu. The Odu are feminine, you see. And so when we stepped back and the male energy took over, it has that fear of the mother, the fear of that creative spark that lives within the female. And in that fear, they suppress what they are afraid of. In that fear, the white man suppresses what they are afraid of. When the black man realizes and the black woman realize how powerful they are, that's why this tradition is so important. And that's why so many of us are flocking to it, because it gives us that picture of truth. That when, why in the world are you going to suppress a people all of these hundreds of years if they're not powerful? Why would you bother? I mean, you know, if you have a power that is beyond you and you know it somewhere in your being, you know, this is a powerful, I was getting ready to cuss, this is a powerful person, then that's when you want to keep your heel, your boot on their neck. And that's what they've done to us. And unfortunately, we have become to feel of ourselves that we belong. Their boot belongs on our neck when it doesn't, because we have the power to overturn them. And that's what the female's coming into her power as well. She has the power to evenness, to bring balance and harmony to the world. Because that's who she is. She's the mother, she's the nurturer, and she's a fierce warrior. Men don't go to battle. There's never been a revolution without a woman, without that female energy. It don't exist. It can't exist. If you want to revolt, you got to have women with you. What you think they did in the Haitian Revolution? They sent the women and the children out there. And the women and the children went and fought. So yeah, the female energy is coming back. It never went anywhere, really. It just allowed itself to be suppressed. But we're coming back to our senses now.
So LaDonna, I wanted to, before I hear from E5 Modupe, LaDonna is saying, I love these conversations. She says, men are scared of us. This is what she wrote before you even started talking here. And then she said, regain our ancient mind. That's powerful here. And I'm always reminded of, I'll call her name, Toni Morrison. When I heard her speak, she said, in order for men to rule, they must be able to control three things: the military, the money, and women's bodies. But you have to control women's bodies because they produce the people that go get the money. So I always remember that was like a click, 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 click moment where it was like, we are so powerful that if we say no more beings to the planet, no more beings will show up. I don't care how much sperm you got. You can drip it on a rock, ain't nothing coming. And so, you know, when people spit on you like that, I mean, in terms of the wisdom, you like, damn, like, that's me. That's you, boo. That's you. What about you, Ifeoma Odupe? I just
Oh, that was a lot. Thank you, Ia. That's very powerful. I don't. The only thing, this story keeps popping in my head from Ejiogbe that when Ifufulele gave birth to all the planets, and they were fighting amongst themselves because there was two parts to the Ebo she was given. She was given an Ebo to do, and she only did the first part. So the second part left us in a situation where, and if I'm quoting it correctly, it says something like peace treaties upon peace treaties, notwithstanding, there'll always be conflict because all the children that she gave birth to in the story are men. And so they are the planets, including Earth. And I think that that's significant because it really shows, like, as the mother, we have great power and influence. And what we do spiritually will determine how things go moving forward, generation after generation after generation. I think we are at a crossroads right now where we can, pick it up. I just keep thinking about what Ia said about this being the year Oshun said we could have to get to get ourselves together. I almost cussed. To get ourselves together, because if we don't, I don't even want to think about what would happen. I just look at it as like an opportunity now for us to come together and sort out the things that are holding us back. We do, as African people in the diaspora in this country and on the continent, we get to choose. Like, even what I've noticed is the present depictions of Orisha, it's difficult to find information on the more ancient deities like Nana Baruku, Mami Wata, and Iyami. But we have these present depictions of Yemaja as a mother who just feeds and nurtures everyone, which that's just one side of Yemaja. Oshun as a temptress and having to do with this, just the sweetness of life. We love one-sided depictions, and I think that we've gotten that affinity from other religions that we practice. And Oya as a crazy person, basically, a woman who's unstable, violent, and jealous. So that is pretty much the pigeonholes that we're allowed to be in as women in present day society. If we discard that and really go deeper, we go deeper into our understanding of who these Orisha are. We go deeper into our understanding of the tradition and really begin to communicate and venerate the more ancient spirits. If we go deeper into ourselves and really understand how we're made and how all of this just clicks into place within us and serves as our interior landscape so that we make decisions from a more holistic foundation, we might be all right. We might be all right.
That was heavy.
Mm-hmm.
That was very heavy because I think sometimes we don't get the opportunity to really discuss that kind of stuff. Like in terms of, because that I literally just made that connection as I was sitting here. You know, you know something, but you don't get a chance to make the connection until you hear it outside of yourself. And I was just thinking to myself, God, I hear a lot about remain women, but those deep, powerful women, I didn't hear about them. I just didn't. Like, how do you not know about your grandmother, but you know about her daughter and her mom?
Right.
That's crazy. And usually,
And how do you find your place though? Do you understand what I mean? Like when we figure who we are and what parts of ourselves we need to bring forward, we need to bring forward those deeper parts of ourselves, those parts that you will only get to really know from conversations with your grandmother. You know what I mean? They're there. You can't activate that power unless you've got the math for that. And you might not just get that from a man because it may be uncomfortable for him to give that. And anyway, why does he need to know the math to unlock your power?
Mm-hmm.
Why is it his responsibility to tell you that? I mean, we operate in the tradition largely relying on men for leadership and information when there are elders like Colette. There's a multitude of women in the tradition, a multitude. And if we go even further back, you know what I mean, you'll find that there's great wisdom and we can access it. It just takes a little more work right now. But I think it's a good time to make it more accessible.
Sister Nicole is saying, I was at the window of the tradition, looking in. I walked away because I was not quite enough in my spirit to understand. I was not quiet, enough in my spirit to understand. Thank you for this information as I am at the door. Thank you. So she basically saying got her back to the door. I also know that this concerted effort to divide generations is a bigger plan to keep you further buried. So what I mean by that, when I hear sometimes younger people complaining about older people, but that's because, like they buy into the narrative that we don't need them. It's like trying to cut off your own hand or cut off your own nose because you don't like, despite your own face, but you need that nose because it helps you to breathe. So I just feel like all of this is so connected in terms of because once you understand some things, you can't turn back.
Right.
Like I could take this information and act like it don't mean nothing, but I know better. Like that will haunt me for the rest of my life. I'll be like, now you know dang well how powerful you are. You can't even sit up here and blame this fool. You really couldn't do it because you already knew that about yourself. So yeah. Did you want to add anything onto that as we start to wrap up?
No, not really. I'm just thankful. I'm just thankful that we're having these conversations, and I've come to understand better why we do have 3 and 4 generations on the earth at one time, so that we can all elevate. The elders bring something, and the parents bring something, and then the children bring something else again. They keep us young. They keep us in the now, and we can help them because we've seen what was in the past that they have no idea of or no recollection of, although it is within them. So, yeah, I'm just grateful and thankful and hopeful, and in a place of knowing that each day we're getting closer to home, meaning we're getting closer to a better world, and us working and I'm not even going to say loving each other, just working with each other in an open and honest and transparent way.
Right on. All right, y'all. We are wrapping this up. This was a great conversation. I look forward to whatever we're going to talk about tomorrow because I do learn a lot. And I don't know. I'm not exactly sure what we're going to talk about tomorrow. I'm feeling very heavily about the ancestors, but I talk about them every day. But I'm not exactly sure. So let's think about what we really want to talk about. And with that, I'm gonna wrap it up. But y'all don't hang up. I'm just gonna wrap this call up. Peace, family. See you tomorrow.
Love you.